Hello and welcome to another French GCSE and iGCSE video tutorial. So in this particular video, we are going to look at how to answer the longer writing task. So the longer writing task is part of the French GCSE and iGCSE writing exam, of course. And I'll take you through some tips, how to handle the longer writing task and how to maximize your marks. So my name, firstly, is Dhananjay Talwar. I studied French and Italian for my MA at the University of Cambridge, graduating back in 2015. And I've been in the field of education ever since that time, mostly as a tutor. I've been a full-time tutor for 6 years now, and in that time, I've actually helped more than 500 students to achieve or exceed their target grade for French GCSE or iGCSE. It's been a very rewarding experience. I've taught various other languages too, about 8 of them so far for up till GCSE and iGCSE level, and some at higher levels as well. I'm hugely passionate about languages myself, having learnt more than 20 of them to different levels and at least 9 to fluency. And so I really love enthusing people and my students, motivating them and helping them reach their language learning goals and the grades that they want to get to. So here is an overview of the French GCSE and iGCSE exam boards. So as of July 2025, there are 4 different exam boards for GCSE French and 2 of them for iGCSE French. So you should, as a student, you should recognize your particular exam board here. And it is useful, certainly, to know your exam board as early as possible so that you can use that information to tailor your preparation towards what will come up in your exam. But the good thing is that this particular video will be relevant for every student. So all students of French GCSE or iGCSE, regardless of their particular exam board, because all students would have some form of longer writing task. Every single exam board has some form of longer writing task currently in their French GCSE and iGCSE writing paper. Okay, so this is a list of the different parts of the French GCSE and iGCSE writing exam. So, of course, definitely not every exam will contain all of these different tasks. That would be impossible. That would be far too much for a student to do in one exam. Which particular tasks you would have to do depends on whether you're doing foundation tier or higher tier, and which exam board you're studying. So the exact format varies depending on your exam board, and I highly recommend looking at the website of your exam board for further details on what your particular exam will be like. But these are the possible parts of the French GCSE and iGCSE writing exam. So across all of the exam boards, these are the different exercises and tasks students may be required to do, starting with a form filling exercise, then a listing exercise where you've got to answer in short sentences in French, answers where you provide a response to a photo, a mini grammar exercise, a shorter writing task, longer writing task, and then a translation exercise, which is there for all of the French GCSE exam boards, not the iGCSE exam boards, though. And the translation that comes up in the writing paper is generally from English to French. So in these particular videos, in today's video, of course, in this one, I'm talking about the longer writing task, and I'll go into a lot more detail about the longer writing task in particular. There is a different video which I highly recommend viewing on the shorter writing task. So if you want to know how to prepare that as best as possible and score more marks, then do check out that video. And translation at the bottom is in brackets because there's a separate video on translation. That will be in a different section. And in that video, I look at translation both from English to French and from French to English. So both of them in the same video. The other exercises and potential tasks listed above are not actually covered in my videos at all. They tend to be more mechanical in nature, more straightforward, and they do vary quite considerably across different exam boards as well in terms of which of these exercises or tasks, if any, actually could come up. So yeah, we won't cover them in these videos. Okay, going into more detail then on the longer writing task. So for your longer writing task, of course, as a student, you would be asked to write an answer in French. No surprises there, which addresses several bullet points. The number of bullet points can vary quite a bit, usually again from about 2 to 5, depending on your exam board, and also potentially depending on whether you're doing foundation or higher tier for the GCSE exam boards. iGCSE exam boards will not have that distinction between foundation or higher tier currently at all. No matter how many bullet points there are, you have to make sure that you address and you answer every single one of those, whether there are 2 bullet points or 5. That will always be the case. And make sure to answer all of those bullet points roughly equally as well. So if there are 5 different bullet points that you've got to include every single one of those in your answer. And if you're asked to write within the instructions, if it specifies that you should write roughly 150 words, then you don't necessarily have to write exactly 30 words for each and every one of those 5 bullet points. That's very tough. But I wouldn't vary the number of words too much. So I would not write, for example, 50 to 60 words for one bullet point and then just 10 to 20 for the next one. Try and keep the number of words roughly equal for each bullet point. And try and signpost to the examiner as clearly as possible that you've addressed every single bullet point in your answer. And I'd start, as I'll show you shortly, I would start a new paragraph every time you move on to a new bullet point as well. The question is based on a specific topic area. So every single longer writing task will be based around a particular topic area. You will normally have the option of a few different longer writing tasks from which you would have to choose one to answer. So I would take a bit of time to read through all of the options and, of course, simply select the one that you're most confident with and most comfortable in and think you can score the most marks for. The student is given a specified number of words to write. I'll show you those just now as well. But it is very important to be aware of that word count, which will, of course, be there in the instructions on the exam paper too. Make sure that you do not ignore that because it is important that you stick to the number of words, not exactly necessarily, but roughly. And as a guideline, I would look at writing 10% either way. So either 10% below the specified word count or 10% above the specified word count. And I wouldn't go beyond that. I would try and stick within 10% either way of the words indicated. Okay, speaking of the word limit indications, these are the particular word limit indications, at least correct as of July 2025, for all of the exam boards that we mentioned. You'll notice that for the GCSE French exam boards, of course, there's a difference between between foundation and higher tier. And there's different word counts for the longer writing task for each of those tiers. CCEA is somewhat exceptional. That's an exam board only for Northern Ireland, actually. And there are no particular indications of the number of words to write for the writing task there. iGCSE exam boards do not have a distinction between foundation or higher tier, and Pearson Edexcel iGCSE still in July 2025 at least remains somewhat exceptional in that it has a combined reading and writing paper. They're together in just one paper, those two skills. But I would make a note of the word limit for your particular exam board, and you can always check these details on the website of your exam board too. Okay, here are some tips for how to handle and score well in your longer writing task. So always answer each bullet point directly. Try and show the examiners as clearly as possible that you have answered every bullet point. And I would try and use the words actually in the bullet point itself, because you want to make it as clear as possible to the examiners that every bullet point is covered in your answer. Don't vary the number of words too much from one bullet point to the next. Treat every bullet point equally, and there are certainly marks in the mark scheme for covering all of them in your answer as well. make sure that when you're writing about each bullet point too, you don't go off on a tangent, or your answer doesn't stray too far away from the original bullet point itself and the information that bullet point is asking you to provide. Use topic-specific vocabulary. These more complex or advanced features of language become more important actually for the longer writing task compared to the shorter writing task. So try and use vocabulary related to the particular topic area that your longer writing task is based on. Some topic areas are certainly harder than others. The environment tends to be a tricky one, for example, with plenty of topic-specific vocab. So if you can fit in some more advanced or more specific words, then that can come across really positively. Definitely use a variety of tenses. I would vary your tenses a little bit in your shorter writing task, of course, too, if you've got to do one. But certainly for the longer writing task, it is important, essential that you vary your tenses if you want to get towards the top bracket of marks at all. So I would use past tenses, present tense, future tenses, plus more. So ideally, if you can, throw in a conditional tense, maybe more advanced verb forms like a pluperfect tense, and other more complex verb forms as well. I will provide a list later on in the video, which is very thorough and complete, and is a really useful mental checklist to have in mind as well as you go about your longer writing task. But varying your tenses and varying your language is certainly more essential, more necessary for the longer writing task to maximize your marks. Stick to the word limit, at least roughly, so 10% each way is what I would aim for, and I wouldn't stray or go beyond that, and try and show off as much as you can. So this is where it's particularly different from the shorter writing task. For the longer writing task, if you want to go to the top marks, you really do need to vary your language and to show off. I'll show you what I mean shortly by showing off, but using different verb forms, potentially even varying your vocabulary as well, although the focus is normally even more on grammar. Using more complex phrases that can stand out to examiners and show them that you are a top or very capable candidate. Some of these phrases that you use could even simply be memorized by heart beforehand, so that you're not, which can be a shortcut or can be an easier way instead of spending lots and lots of time revising harder elements of grammar. Okay, so in terms of memorizing those phrases, what I was talking about are key phrases. That's a big tip and something that I really recommend to all my students. I do have free resources available too. For example, one where I've got a list of the top key phrases that I've compiled from my considerable experience for French GCSE and iGCSE. I really recommend spending a bit of time learning those key phrases before your exam, and then trying to include them, whether it's in your writing or your speaking exam or both, as they can boost your marks. And shouldn't take too much effort, ideally, to memorize either. Key phrases include more complex grammar forms. Some of these are quite advanced. They can be quite tricky for students to learn by heart. And so simply revising set phrases that already contain more complex, say, verb forms can be more efficient or more useful instead. Make sure you check through your writing, of course, thoroughly afterwards. That's important for everything that you write in your writing paper, particularly maybe, though, for the longer writing task, because there's a considerable amount of marks available for that longer writing task. And, of course, it's a bit more demanding in nature than, say, the shorter writing task, if you have to do one. So I would definitely check over your own writing very thoroughly. And if you've answered anything in French, you have to make sure you check your spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Spelling, punctuation, and grammar, SPAG. Those three things are essential to check through. I would also check through the content itself. Make sure you've answered all the bullet points. Make sure you've answered them in a relevant way. You haven't included content that does not address the bullet point, and that you fulfilled all of the requirements as per the instructions of the question. So indicate clearly which question it is that you answered. That's also really important, of course. Most students will definitely score more marks while checking through their work because they will correct any mistakes that they spot. But likewise, indicating clearly which question you answered is vital, because even if you produce really, really excellent written French, you hit all of the criteria in the mark scheme too. All of that can be undone just by not clearly indicating which question you're even answering. So make sure to do that and make sure to check that you've done so as well. Practice using past paper materials in exam conditions too. So as you draw closer to the exam, I would prioritize using past papers and do them more seriously too in exam conditions. So without looking up words, without allowing yourself any time beyond that which you would have in the exam, for example, too. Okay, so here it is. As promised, my show-off checklist. As mentioned, I do have resources I've created. With lists of key phrases themselves too. But this is a really useful checklist that you can even keep in mind as you're writing your longer writing task of show-off pieces of grammar or show-off phrases that you can and should really use to try and impress the examiners and boost your marks. Of course, every single show-off phrase that you use has to be used correctly. Otherwise, you're not going to score any marks for it. So you have to, if you do memorize key phrases or use any of these kinds of complex grammar structures, you have to be confident in being able to do that correctly. You need to revise them beforehand so that you're able to do that as well correctly. So these include varied tenses. Try and vary them as much as you can realistically without making errors, of course. The present or past subjunctive, those particularly tend to impress the examiners, I think, arguably more than any other structure. But there are various ones that can be impressive. Present participles. So in French, these end in ANT. Present participles, if you've learned them, absolutely try and throw a few of those into your longer writing task. These are harder verb forms, which definitely not every student will learn either. So they can boost your marks too. Structures such as après avoir or après être, followed by the past participle, which means having done something, or having something. Those can be useful too. Again, simply more complex verb forms, moving further away from the standard grammar that everybody would learn for GCSE or iGCSE. C clauses or if clauses, I have another video on those. There are 3 of them, and they're very, very, very useful for your writing to try and increase your grade for your writing task. C clauses definitely can stand out to examiners as well. An advanced or topic-specific vocabulary too. So that can vary from topic to topic. Some topic areas are certainly harder than others, but if you do know vocabulary specifically related to the topic area your longer writing task is on, then there's no harm in throwing in some of those words, and they can appeal to examiners more as well. Okay, I'm going to give you an example now of something I wrote before. So this is a longer writing task taken from the 2023 paper for Cambridge iGCSE. And I'm going to read through all of the instructions here and translate them into English for you. So it says, write 130 to 140 words in French. That's obviously the word limit indication. And then the question itself is written out here. My first visit to the mountains. So it says, you went to the mountains for the first time. Write an email to your friend, your French friend, to speak to him or her about this visit. And here are the 5 bullet points. There's 5 of them, so quite a few, all of which would need to be included, of course, in your answer. They are 1, describe your journey to go to the mountains. 2, what did you do as activities or for activities during your stay in the mountains? Number 3, in your opinion, what is the best season to go there, as in to go to the mountains? Number 4, what must one do to protect the environment in the mountains? And number 5, give details or give some details about another region that you'd like to visit. So it's important to include every one of those bullet points in your answer, as we said. And also to note that this particular question is worth 28 marks. The longer writing task, is generally worth a considerable amount of marks, across all of your French GCSE and iGCSE. And even looking through the mark scheme and understanding how those marks can be won, can be earned as well, can be very useful. Okay, here is my example answer. You can see the first part below, and then on the next slide, that's the second part. So I'll give you a bit of time to read over this while pointing out some of the features here too, some of the things I've been careful to do. So you can see that I have set it out somewhat like an email, only in that I've written "Dear" and then the name of a potential French friend at the start. And I've also been careful to sign off the email. Here I've just put "Amitié," which is, a fairly common way to end an informal email in French. That ending will vary depending on whether it's a formal or an informal email. But if you are asked to write either a letter or an email, then I would set it out in this way, just to be safe. Again, it shouldn't really affect the marks, but there's no harm in doing so. And what many students will often do as well is simply just choose one French name, such as Marc, which is very, very similar to the English anyway, and just make every letter or every email that you write as you're revising as well, or as you're doing past papers, you would address it to that one person. So you don't even have to think of the name of the French friend or person that you're going to have to write to. Obviously, that will depend. If you're asked to write to somebody else, say, I don't know, a police person or somebody who's in the authorities, then you would have to vary that. Of course, it would be a much more formal letter. So watch out for the specific instructions too. You can see that I've been careful to address every single one of the bullet points. I have varied a little bit in terms of how many words I've written per bullet point, but not too much. I've kept it roughly the same, so that is very important. And I have used more complex phrases and more varied tenses as well. So you can see the perfect tense here, a past tense, je suis allé, I went. J'ai pris, as well as perfect tense, I took. But I've also got other tenses. So the imperfect, il y avait, there was or there were. Nous voulions, we wanted to. Yeah, that's also the imperfect tense. The pluperfect, nous n'avions jamais fait, we had never done. A present subjunctive form, et, which is the present subjunctive from avoir, to have. More complex C clause, si followed by the pluperfect tense, and then the conditional perfect. J'aurais voulu is the conditional perfect tense. Another present subjunctive in I from the verb aller, to go. So you can see that I've pretty much tried to vary my language almost as much as possible, really. And of course, I would only use structures that you're confident in using correctly, because that accuracy is still very important for your longer writing task. But it is important to show off and to vary the language, as much as you can, if you want to get towards those top marks, especially. Okay, I'm going to go on to show you the second half of this answer as well. Obviously, just to state the obvious, you would not write Dananjay, you would not write my name at the end of your email. You should put your own name there instead. I'll just give a bit of time to read through this second half of the answer too, and give you a few indications of how to go about it too. So again, I've varied the verb forms in particular, almost as much as I can. I've used another present subjunctive, so that's quite a few of them, at least 3 or 4 present subjunctive forms within the entire longer writing task. Prenne is the present subjunctive from prendre, to take. Some slightly more advanced or complex phrases, even though it's not really a grammar structure, such as ça ne vaut pas la peine d'y aller. It's not worth going there. Again, these are just structures phrases that can stand out to examiners. Um, I've used the conditional tense on devrait. So again, yet another tense, trying to really vary my verb forms as much as possible. And I've even varied my vocabulary somewhat too. Less so than the grammar. If you have to choose, I would certainly put more focus on grammar and varying that. But I have used some more topic specific words or harder words, particularly when talking about the environment, such as déchet, waste, or rubbish, éteindre, to switch off, gaspiller, to waste, as well. Yeah, and again, those can score marks too. I've used the si clause as well. Si possible, j'aimerais visiter Bretagne. If possible, I would like to visit Brittany. Yeah, and essentially, yeah, the grammar, I've tried to vary that and make that as complex as possible, while still trying to make sure it's accurate. Okay, now there's a brief quiz just to check your understanding of what we've gone through, and all about the longer writing task. So, question one is, what kinds of advanced grammar can impress examiners in the longer writing task? So your chance to see if you can remember those. So I'll give a bit of time to think through this answer before I show you. Okay, and I'm going to show the answer now. So varying your tenses using the past and present subjunctive, for example, but also present participles, structures like après avoir or après être, plus the past participle, if or si clauses, and more topic-specific vocabulary can all be used to impress examiners, especially in your longer writing task. Among other things too, that was not a definitive or exhaustive list. There are potentially other structures or grammar forms that can wow examiners as well. Question two is true or false. So you must stick absolutely exactly to the number of words indicated for your longer writing task. Is it true? Is it false? Who knows? I'll give you a bit of time to think before showing you the answer. Okay, let me click for the answer now. So this is false. You do have some leeway generally, and I would aim for 10%. So I would aim to write within 10%, either above or below the specified number of words, just to make sure that you're covering your back and making sure you do not lose any marks, specifically because of the word count, because that is a very frustrating and annoying way to lose marks. Question three is also true or false. The aim in the longer writing task is to throw in as many advanced phrases as possible. Okay, is that true or is it false? I'll give you a bit of time to think over the answer. Okay, I will show the answer now. So this one is also false. Advanced phrases can definitely be useful, but every one that you use has to be used correctly to get marks. Otherwise, you wouldn't get marks for it or credit for it at all. And it has to be relevant to the bullet point you're answering. It has to fit neatly into your answer as well. You can't go, say, from one topic to something completely unrelated, which doesn't really make sense. So, yeah, you have to, using these advanced phrases is a good idea, but I would do so sensibly and accurately as well. And question four, what are perhaps the most impressive grammar structures to use in the longer writing task? I'll give you a bit of time to think through perhaps the one most impressive grammar structure, and then I'll show you. Okay, let me show you the answer then. So, yeah, there are potentially many, but I would say that the subjunctive is perhaps the most impressive grammar structure you could use for writing tasks, whether it's the shorter or longer writing task, but especially for your longer writing task, really. And of course, with any subjunctive, you have to make sure you use it correctly with any of these structures that we're referring to, actually. Okay, for any questions about any of this, or if you'd like to know more about more personalized help that I provide as well, you can contact me by email or through Facebook, Instagram as well. I do post on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn every single day with tips for GCSE and iGCSE, for French and for other languages, how to revise, prepare for the exams, make sure you go in feeling as confident as possible. And I talk a lot about my love of languages naturally too, share that with the world, and just enthusing people to learn languages. I have many resources available, including free ones for French GCSE and iGCSE, as mentioned. I have a Facebook group too, also free to join for French GCSE and iGCSE students and their parents. And I do one-to-one classes, group classes, courses, and more. So if you'd like to find out more about any of that, just get in touch.